فيا أيها القاري به متمسكا مجلا له في كل حال مبجلا. Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Great to have you with us. My name is Khalid Abu Shafi'. Today inshallah we are going to go through the second video for Makhraj. And inshallah for just to mention that the podcast of the audio MP3 will stop for the time being because the chapter of Makhraj require explanation with video presentation. So we are going to go through the Makhraj chapter through explanation with the video presentation, and also you can download through iTunes, and it is also a podcast or a vodcast if you want to say. You can download it from the iTunes and from the website. So we are going to go through the first Makhraj. We mentioned there are principal Makhraj, and there are 5 Makhraj and points of articulations. There are 5 principles. Number 1, we mentioned that it is Makhraj al-Jawf, which represent the oral cavity and the throat cavity, which we are going to explain later on in this video. The second one was the throat, which represent the 6 letters of Arabic language, such as Ain and Ha and Kha and Ghain and Ha. And the next part is Makhraj al-Lisan, which is the tongue, and whatever inside the mouth represent the movement of the tongue around the teeth, the roof of the mouth, touching the teeth and so on. And the next one is the lips, and the last Makhraj is the Makhraj of the nasal cavity, which is called Makhraj al-Khayshum, or Makhraj the nostrils, where the ghunna comes from. So as you know that there are so many letters in Arabic language. Now how do they distribute through the part of the body that the sounds exit, and the sound comes from these points of articulations? Number 1, the ulama have decided that knowing this makhraj is very important, and we need to go through it because we cannot recite the Quran without knowing where is the makhraj of the letters such as a zal or a dha. If we don't differentiate the makhraj, then we could pronounce the same zay and dha, and zal would be all za. So the makhraj, knowing the makhraj is a very important, as Imam al-Jazari say in his poetry, إذ واجب عليهم محتم قبل الشروع أولا أن يعلموا مخارج الحروف والصفات ليلفظوا بأفصح اللغات. So it is a duty, it is a compulsory upon all the Muslims to know at least the minimum requirement of this tajweed. And among this tajweed it is مخارج الحروف, the sifat, the qualities and the attributes, so they can pronounce properly the Quran al-Kareem. So مخارج الحروف, there are 17 makhraj. As we mentioned, there are 5 principles, but there are 17 makhraj, and each makhraj of these 17 has their own points of articulations. Now we are going to talk about this principal makhraj. How do we know the makhraj, first of all? So the ulama mentioned that if you bring the letter and make the letter sakin, such as ab, and make a fatha or a dhamma or a kasra, probably kasra or a fatha, that's the ulama mention, and say ab, and whatever the sounds ends, then that movement of the last part of the body, that is the makhraj. So if, for example, if I want to know what is the makhraj of ba, you would say ab, ab, and same as ta, at, or it, ib. So this is how to know the makhraj. Now, in this makhraj, these letters are muqaddar. Muqaddar means they are estimated. They do not have really a point. These 3 letters which I'm going to mention, and the ulama mentioned, Makhraj al-Jawf, which represent the oral cavity and the throat cavity. And by looking at this diagram of this drawing of Makhraj al-Jawf, we see that the sound hits and vibrates through when it comes, the air produced from the lungs and goes up through the throat and then comes through the roof of the mouth, between the roof of the mouth and the tongue, and then the sound is produced. So if it stops here, then produces the letters of the throat. If it stops here, the qaf and the kaf. If it's here, then the jim and the shin and the ya. If it's here, then the mim, and so on. Now, when we say this makhraj is muqaddar and estimated, it is not a point. The ulama mentioned because it passes through all these area, and that's why it's called muqaddar, means estimated. It is not really a fixed point, and that's why we have these three letters. Number one is the alif with a sukoon preceded with a fatha, such as qa, ba, ta, and waw sakin preceded with a dhamma, such as qu, fu, su, and ya sakina preceded with a kasra, such as fi, bi. And so this alif and waw and ya sakin preceded with similar fatha, with the origin fatha, dhamma, kasra, or waw sakin and ya sakin only. They call them the letters of mad, but they mad the lean preceded with a fatha, such as Quraysh. The ya sakin preceded with a fatha, Araysh, or waw sakin preceded with fatha, Jawf, as you mean Makhraj al-Jawf, Khawf, Saw. So these are the letters of mad. Their makhraj would be muqaddar. It is not fixed point, but it goes makhraj al-jawf between the throat and between the mouth. The makhraj al-jawf and the letters and how to pronounce, how to know the makhraj and the point of articulation. As we know, and as I have mentioned at the beginning, this makhraj, it's called estimated. It is muqaddar. It is not muhaqqaq, which is it is not a fixed point to a part of the body of the mouth or the throat, but it is that empty space which exists between the throat and the mouth, which is this area here, throat of cavity and the oral cavity, and it is not the nasal cavity. And why I mention this, because this is one of the common mistakes when someone try to imitate a shaykh or a qari and start to read Quran and say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان, and using that nasal makhraj. Now, this is a common mistake. Even the Imam al-Jazari used to mention in his book, and the ulama, they say حروف مد للهواء تنتهي. They are letters ends where the air ends. It is not where the nose or it is not at the throat. It is that space where the air is. It is there where resides the letters of mad, but it is not in the nose. So in the nasal cavity, for example, it is for the ghunna. So if you say, for example, qa, instead of qala, and how do I get rid of that? I just try to practice and close my nostrils and my nose like this, putting my fingers there and say qala, qala. And if I have that problem and I say, for example, qala, 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 I feel that I blocked the nostrils and I blocked the nasal cavity. I did not let the air coming from there, and I realize that I'm trying to do it from there. So this is a common mistake in reading Quran. So try to avoid it by knowing this is the makhraj. So if you read Quran, do not use the nostrils for the mad. So the letters of mad, briefly, as I mentioned, there are alif sakina preceded with a fatha, ya sakina preceded with a kasra, and waw sakina preceded with a dhamma, or maddul lin, which are the two letters waw and ya sakin preceded with a fatha, such as Jawf and Quraysh, and or Khawf. I gave the example because Jawf is there. And the last thing I would like to mention, that the letter of the alif sakin, it is according to the letter preceded. For example, if I say qala, qa, qa, so the alif is mufakham, it is a heavy because of the qaf. So whenever the letter is heavy, you make the letter alif qaf, the letter alif of mad, heavy. But if it is empty mouth, slight, light, then you make it light and empty mouth. For example, you would say jaa, you wouldn't say jaa, you wouldn't say ba, and you wouldn't say, like some people say, taba, taba, tabara, taba, qa, ta. So the letter of khussa, dhaghtin, qidh, kha, sad, ta, dad, ghain, and dha, we will see them later on in the qualities of the letters. Jazakumullahu khairan for listening. Subscribe to iTunes and you will find also this video there, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan wa barakallahu fikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
هنيئا مريئا والداك عليهما ملابس أنوار من التاج والحلى